It's the first time I've done this in a while. We did this a little bit at the start of the show, but we'll recap a little bit of what we've had so far. So we are 3.5 hours in, almost 3 hours and 16 minutes. We've had Max Lemons from 11 Labs on the show talking to us about on the show. It's kind of like you are seeing the thought train of like just a consistent back-to-back interview, right? It's a show at the end of the day, but this is the Ventureverse. We had Max Lemons come on, and he's just come back from Italy, from Puglia. The entire 11 Labs team has been at an offsite there, all 300 of them. They are remote first, and so getting them all in person must have been a really interesting environment, given that they're all super high agency. They're all just incredible at work, at the work they do. And they were actively working while they're out there. So a bit of work and pleasure. Although in a startup today, it feels like all pleasure and work. He's talking to us about GTM, talking specifically about like how they sell 11 Labs into these large enterprises, which is the role that he does. It's sort of dedicated towards that. We then had Johnny Davis on from, he's building something new. It's currently in stealth. We can't tell you what it is, but in the context of VC, in the context of creators, you can take from that what you will. Ask Johnny. The man is doing so many things. Works very, very closely. His co-founder is Simon Squibb, and talking to him about 1, content, 2, distribution, and 3, like a bundle of things in between, and calls to a lot of what we see in the market right now. He mentioned Harry Stebbings, as one of the people that he loves, one of the founders that he loves. And I can see why. The distribution game that, obviously has been built here, people said that it wasn't possible to do this in VC, and then he's gone and done it. And he's just authentically himself. Like there is no flavor of Stebbings from what I've seen, from what I've heard. It's just like you get him, and I love that. He has an opinion. That's amazing. So many people don't today. And that is freaking awesome. Johnny, especially with the work that they're doing about, the value add of, when you go and create a product, how do we teach people to like consistently deliver value? The goal with what Simon does is, I have a dream. What is your dream? Not I have a dream. That's how I think about it. But like, what is your dream? And we want to know about, like, that's great. But if we bring it back to tangibly what that looks like next, it's like, okay, there's the dream. How can we work towards that? What are the steps we need to put in place? And it seems that there is an element of product in that people haven't thought about, and Johnny's thinking about. So super interested to see what these guys come out with in the next couple of months. I can't wait for them to come out as stealth. Johnny also thinks in content formats, and so just riffing with him on formats is probably one of my favorite things to do. The master of monetization is how I have him saved on my phone. It's epic. And as they've said, we're going to pass through that value. It's like, yeah, it should be free, but we obviously need to get paid, but we're going to pass through that value to you. And I think that's what they do really well on the channel. And I don't think they do really well on the channel. That's why it's grown to X million subscribers, followers across platforms. And I think Simon's live right now, or being live in London online right now, playing the live game. It's a beautiful game. Slightly different flavor, but very much the same. We had Daniel from Pure Sport on the show talking to us about, a little bit about Pure Sport. It feels like over the years it's transitioned through, like in my head at least, different variations of what it could be. Started as a CBD product, now or the best product that produce CBD creams, now looks more like a top tier, not just supplement company, but all things during and post workout. It is for the long run, as they describe, and they're building a high performance team over there and actively looking at themselves as a Nike, not just another competitor in the supplement space or this overcrowded consumer market. It seems like they have a flavor, and with a name and branding like Pure Sport, getting back to that purity, getting back to the passion of what it means to go and play that sport, you can see that in how he thinks about the company and the work that they're doing. Drop some releases on us in the next month. They've got these new gels coming out, and that's quite interesting. Why? Because the feedback loop of gratification obviously has got thinner and thinner and thinner and smaller and smaller and smaller, and so we consistently want gratification. With sport, it's all about the journey. There is no instant gratification. You are playing the longer game, whether that's a game of football, whether that's a run, whether that's rugby, whether that's American football, whether that's F1. It's a longer game. And through that, how do you make sure your products are integrated throughout that process? Obviously, they have the apparel, which he spoke about is, now they're making in Portugal, not in China. They already have the supplements, but as he said, everyone can kind of spin up a supplement. They have a doctor in house. Actually, we need to find something that gets us at the start of that journey. And what is that? Gels. It's the most requested product. It adds instantly to that feedback loop of gratification. So we can win you over instantly. And then we get you into the funnel of, oh, let's get you into the long run. Because you would have the gel at the start of the long run, and you would obviously want to be taking the supplements so you can do the long run. And then whilst you're doing the long run, you're wearing Pure Sport. So you're on the long run. And so I really like how, maybe that's not how they thought of it, but how I'm seeing it, in that you are consistently adding value at different points throughout that customer's journey, not just in the touch points of how they buy it, but obviously how they're using the products as well. And so it's almost like this integrated ecosystem of, when I go play sports or I do anything sport related, I'm thinking about the products that Pure Sport is releasing, and I'm going and buying that and consuming that. Community felt like the theme of the first three, for sure. So far, like that is a thread that's being pulled on like heavy right now. Also kind of like cultural zeitgeist, very much like in vogue. We're back from, COVID showed us that, we love people love people. We obviously was more fractional than ever, but hey, the idea that we are just going to go sit in rooms and not interact with each other with AI is not the world it's like we're going to live in. And Max going and doing the offsite, and you could see the joy that he had on his face. You could talk about Johnny interacting with the community and actually getting out, like a lot of Simon's content is actively outside talking to people. And that's why the content does so well, because they want to know, what is the dream? And then with Daniel talking about the community around Pure Sport and how like that is part of the moat. You build an incredible brand, and we use the word like loosely, but community and actively, it's not servicing, but like building around it, building an infrastructure around it, building the scaffolding to help, continually grow that community is key to how they think about what they do at Pure Sport. We then had Iris on the show. She's in stealth as well. We got a lot of stealths right now. Go build in public. Actively talking about vibe coding, and they are going to build infrastructure for vibe coders and the work that they are doing. She's obviously done a lot of customer interviews in the last couple of months, still from selling their previous startup. They are now looking at this new space, talking to us about the different personas of vibe coders, whether that's from an enterprise side, whether that's just your average person that doesn't know how to code, that isn't technical, or that's someone that is technical and knows how to use Cursor and actually understands the products that they're coding. So surprisingly useful from that sense. She was talking to us about a lot about the agents and how they view agents and the way that that's going to interact with how we consistently build product, or how we consistently build products in the future. It seems like they're wired and know, like her and her co-founder, have an idea of the future. They're building towards that. It might start as just another product for a bit, but it will probably grow into something larger. It feels like not just a dev tool, but bigger than that. Vibe coding, as we've seen with Lovable, actively talking to like an intercom. I think he was talking to the LinkedIn team previously. You saw that on X or on LinkedIn. You could see why a tool like that, not just for design purposes, but actively for technical people, is quite useful. Because if we can get you into an environment where you are consistently, working on iterations of whatever that product is from a back-end perspective or front-end perspective, we are going to be able to keep pushing the bounds of what that product is. And today, more than ever, the feedback loop has to be super fast. And so you could see why transitioning to something like that is actually quite useful. Feels like Lovable is very much like web Mac focused right now, but I'm not taking away the fact that downstream, you are going to be able to build mobile applications with it. I think there are some products that exist like that already. Replit's quite good at that from what I hear. Different type of segment today. Hope you're liking it. We then had Eva on the show talking to us about fundraising playbooks. Fundraising playbooks. Initially, I was hesitant because it was like, okay, so what is we're just going to talk about playbooks. But here, you could see that she spent time crafting what these plays are. And the way that she attributes it to a lot of it's a game, it's like chess. She mentioned one of them was the gambit. This is what you do in the gambit, which was, well, you sort of hit it head on with a yes or no. And the idea at that point is not to get an answer, it's to get them back in the conversation. The answer's only half the job. From that point of view, surprisingly useful. I've used it several times, and that has always, within 24 hours, invoked a response because it feels like a knee-jerk reaction. You want to answer it straight away because you've already answered it in your head because it's such a simple question. You could also see the level of analysis that they've done, where she knows the amount of words that need to fit onto a mobile in different screen sizes across Gmail, Outlook, and Apple Mail. So different levels, different requirements on characters that will get you to your answer. The most thought-provoking out of that discussion was very much the fact that it doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman in answering the email, it's the tone in which you ask. She mentioned it was submissive. While the men portray not authority, but there's a level of confidence there. And I don't know, because she's writing them. She was saying that she was writing these emails. She was the email ghostwriter for some of these individuals that have raised capital from pre-seed all the way up to Series A and potentially post. The idea that it's just wired into human nature sort of plays into this, I think, because we've sort of taken on these roles in society, and maybe that's why you see these lower valuations, see these lower funding rounds. But from her perspective, obviously, she is a woman that is writing under the pseudonym of a man. She's seen how it's changed, and I think that is quite it's something to take note of, because during that you can sort of rewire how you frame the text, how you frame the ask, how you frame the conversation. And one of the key things I took away from that was the peer. Come into the conversation as peers. Do not come in all guns blazing. Be respectful of the time, be respectful of who they are. And for her favorite play was the 6 degrees of separation. And the subject line that works is on your comment, comment on your article. For me, that's very clickbaity, but it converts. If the goal is to convert, you might lose some sort of brand equity of yourself throughout that process, but you'll probably win it back long term because it'll be a funny hook to talk about. So I guess long term works out quite nicely. We then had Jay on talking to us about all things gaming and gaming mechanics. The gaming mechanics and psychology of gaming, good Lord. That is such an interesting space. Interesting from the sense of it is quite literally simulating human beings is what I feel like. How can we keep you in the product and keep you consistently having positive feedback loops that keep you in game? I know a startup called Nudge. Dan just texted me, and he was talking about, they've always been on this small nudges, small micro interactions, and the game mechanics of what that is. And one of the things that he's always talked about, he's come on the show twice, is the idea of a leaderboard. We're wired for competition, and so when we see a leaderboard, you evokes 2 reactions: 1, I don't care, or 2 is I'm going to win that thing and I'm going to spend all my time trying to be number 1, and that keeps you in the game. From what it seems like they're doing with Lychee Labs, it's a lot of that type of work. So we've got where's Max? Hold on. We've got some dude on YouTube. I love it. Comments. Hold on. We're going to bring this guy up. We're going to see what he's saying. Oh, look, Devin, I'm not a drummer. I have the symbol. That is what it is. It's the symbol for funding rounds. Thank you for joining the stream, though. I don't know who's Max, but hey, oh, Max is sorry. Max was at the start of the stream, buddy. He was here 3 hours ago, but you can go back and rewind. So talking about gaming, really interesting from that point of view. The idea that GTA, you're allowed to play the demon, and it's the alter ego, I think, is why it's worked so well. We are able to live out our raw truths in that game in a way that no other game will let us experience, because it's like Sims on steroids. So yeah, nice vibes. Right, timeline. Let's do it. So we have, let me pull up X right now, because that is where Tech Talent spends quite literally its life, and we're going to get through it. Come on. So here we go. All right. What's interesting? Bill Gurley, chatting last night with a leading AI model about noteworthy business practices over the last few years. Notice I mentioned no company names nor any industries. Wanted to leverage AI to get the most intelligent view of this situation. Here is the output. Let's see what crops up here. ChatGPT conversation with business practices. Report conversation. ChatGPT let's have a financial detail. Oh, this is the prompt, the angle. This is actually quite an interesting conversation. Summary judgment. Did we get an abstract here? Bill Gurley. We did not. Definitely gonna have to dip into that. That's definitely a like. Happy to report we're making tons of progress automating stone fabrication, and this is the future. That is hilarious. That is kind of funny. It's like, yeah, they did build this back then. Hats, dude. Hats. Why is Twitter going wild for hats? I have no idea. Evals are all you need with OpenAI's on the right. And then we've got thinking with Claude and Anthropics on the left. Which one do you like? You know, whilst I love the new OpenAI innovations, I'm just a big Claude guy. But I think I'm going to have to get back into chat and start playing with it again. Because nowhere else have I seen just the amount of like innovation that they're pushing out. We're going to see if that actually applies to like when I'm using the product, if it works. With OpenAI's dev day that happened yesterday and the agents that they released, and then the application SDK, building products is like building connectors is going to be really cool, of like how we use GPT as the OS and then move into that. Leo, my verdict on dev day, the only people I trust to take Shiptober seriously is them. See you soon. We're going to see what Google's got. Gemini is an underrated product is how I still feel. We're going to see if that manifests as like the leader probably by the end of this year. AZ16 pumping out content like no one's business as usual. Started thinking machines today. Oh, dude got a hat. Love it. Thinky. I think I prefer Anthropics, but I like the red. The red's a good vibe. It's strong. It's like Ventures. Kaizo's feeling a little bit lost. We got Nura. I think he raised 6 million. Nope. Yep. Box group merge. Going to be the first to be backed by them. Cool. Law. What else have we got here? This is kind of cool. 3 more bed. They all look the same. This is hilarious. Like this star. If I'm, which one am I forgetting here? Which one am I liking? Like I personally, out of all of these, are a Gemini and a Luma user. Quite like the flavor of Un Petit Plus, Sirius, Lunar. Luma's a nice one. I like how it sort of opens up into this solar system. That's quite cool. Elon names former Morgan Stanley banker as its new ex-AI CFO. Well, let's see what Harry's up to. The Divergent affirmation versus the Chad declaration. You'll be asked to read aloud a short declaration or affirmation piece, such as the wording made. Interesting. Per aspera on software dominance. Every bit needs an atom, for sure. It's very in vogue right now. It's great to see Johnny Ive back out in the world. I'm looking forward to whatever that hardware product looks like. Humane felt just too early, like right thread, wrong time, and they are probably taking the learnings of that. He's going to be very interesting I need to watch this actually, because Johnny Ive just walks around San Francisco like he owns it from that first one. TBPN doing fundraisers left, right, and center. We love to see it. 2 billion. That's not bad. It's a good raise. It's a really good raise. Bari is a force of nature. Here's the letter Bari was sent now to all CBS News employees. That's cool. Okay. Business Day, New York Times, Mark Andreessen. 1994, doubts raised on the number of internet users. What a time to be alive. Patrick Collison. The Collison brothers and their Cheeky Pint series is quite possibly one of the best things I've ever watched. The level of conversation is peer-to-peer, and therefore you just get a different flavor of combo, because they are both talking about things and subjects that they are both deeply invested in. And you could sort of see that this is kind of the conversation that might happen in a pub or at the dinner table. And the fact that it happens in sort of this, Irish bar, Irish pub is quite funny. It's quite amusing that happens, or that is the way it happens. We've got our next guest rolling into the showroom in 10 minutes, but I hope you're enjoying this segment. Paul Graham, Tim Cook was a great CEO, the most important intervention. This is Varnwam Ganesh, 12K impressions. Oh, Marcus Brownlee. Saw a quote from myself on a random standalone AI product website. Didn't remember saying that. Click the quote to find the source. Hilarious. What was it? Pocket's pretty interesting. Pre-ordered. Pre-ordered my Pocket. This is all very cool. Ordered. That's so interesting. Assembly Day. Luke Harris. Oh, dude, this guy on 20VC was incredible. Cracked. Agent 11 Labs, introducing agent workflows. This was yesterday. A visual editor designing conversation flows into the agent's platform instead of building all your business logic into one single agent. There's two schools of thought here. Do you do that from the perspective, or do you do that because it's the right thing to do? Or do you do that because I can see the interactions that could have and sort of becomes like this decision tree that I can visualize better, because it seems like we're going in that direction. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. Mixed reviews, we'll find out if it's actually the right thing. I've always found the workflows difficult. Optimus was at the Tron Ares premiere. Optimus has its own Grok account, is insane. It seems unreal that we're at this stage, right? Just the flexibility of movement almost feels like it's being controlled by someone behind the scenes. But apparently not. I don't know if that's reacting to the environment or it's been pre-programmed to do that. Pretty cool though. Elena from Verna, lovable. What else do we have? Ramp is obviously ripping as usual. Inference podcast. I've seen this come up a couple times. Member of presented by Inference. Great hosting, Anthropic leadership team. Great interaction. Did you get the thinking cap? Bro, that's such a grail. I need one. I feel like I need one. I feel like I've just gotta have one. Here we are. And then we're obviously back to the beginning. Let's see where we're at. 32 more posts. No. Let's hit it with a refresh. Say no to slop. Flora. Slop, I don't think is bad. Slop is just what's in vogue right now. This social has come to a point where there's multiple versions, and we may want the For You page is useful from the perspective of the algorithm giving us what it perceives as our interactions. Having an ownership over the For You and being able to tweak the algo for what we want from a For You perspective will be very useful for how we consume content. Now, the slop, probably, as Johnny said earlier, is going to be the memes that we're able to create, what we're thinking and get down. So the creativity we're able to create is significantly better. Do you want to go and produce a feature film? No. But the ability to create memes that quickly will probably allow us to start building storylines, which will probably help our creativity because of the way that you'll be able to produce longer and longer and longer and longer videos, right? As the models get significantly better, as there is a platform to string together stories. The storytelling is still the hardest piece. So that thing out of everything is probably going to be the most useful. Very interesting. Small recap for those joining us very, very shortly right now. We've had 3 hours and 42 minutes on the stream. Max Lemons has been on talking to us about GTM. First call of the day. It was very useful. Him coming back from the offsite, obviously fresh, full of energy, and ready to rock and roll. Enterprise. There's still a learning curve, it seems, but there is obviously what feels like magic when they see the demos of what 11 Labs is capable of the, the quality of these models. Johnny from Helpbank talking to us about how, and the work that they're doing there and how he's thinking about creators, VC, content, and the intersection of that. Daniel from Pure Sport talking to us about Pure Sport, Daniel Thames, CEO of Pure Sport, talking to us about their new product launches, getting a cheeky exclusive from time to time, and talking to us about how they are building a high-performance team at Pure Sport and act accordingly in that way. It's for the long run that is the most important piece there. Iris was on the show talking vibe coding, not vibe codes, but like vibe coding and, the personas, the way people are vibe coding, boots on the ground, like are people doing it? Insight around that, this idea of having up multiple instances is true. It's not just something people post for hype. There is probably going to be a way to speed that up in the future. That would be super cool. The next guest was Eva from Fundraising Playbooks. She was talking to us about how do I communicate effectively, consistently, so I get the outputs that I need from a fundraising perspective. So really interesting from that point of view that they are plays and you use these set plays in certain moments as you initiate the games being the fundraising, the games being sales, etc. That is what is required. Her favorite play was the 6 degrees of separation. And I've also been enjoying asking the founders how who are their favorites, like who's on their Route Mushmore. Probably going to throw that into an X thread so that we can consistently keep up and see, who are, out of everyone that we're interviewing, who do they consume, who do they look up to? We've been doing that on previous episodes as well. We do that for VCs and their portcos, or not their portcos. Jay was the last guest on the show before we got our next one in 30 from Superseed talking to us about agritech. But Jay was on the show talking gamification and the new startup they've got in Lychee Labs. Games, just such an underrated product category. The fact, I know for me, I just find it hilarious that we are here with AI partially because games. Just grinded games. People wanted consistently better games. And so now we're in an environment where we've got GPUs performing at such an incredible capacity because people all these gamers put in the work to get them to this point of innovation. And when we're thinking about innovation, I like to think of our partners in Dojo AI and the way that they actively help challenger brands market better. Dojo, we love you. Thanks for being partners. Thanks for making this possible. Our next guest is already in the show. 30's here. Let's let him in. Ferdinand, how are we?